Hey guys, it's Rick Naqvi, and I'm here with Hugh Sarvis today, and we're talking about speakers, which is his specialty. So, PreSonus has now been in the speaker business for now 6, 7 years, but you know, Hugh came from Works Audio, who PreSonus acquired, and he's been doing speakers since the 70s, has a lot of experience in it. Today, what we want to talk about is going through the different families of PreSonus speakers and kind of talking about what makes each family of speakers unique and which PreSonus speaker is right for you. So first of all, I guess let's start at the very beginning, and that's with the entry level of the PreSonus family, the Heir. So tell us about the Heir and kind of what makes it unique and who's the customer and why is it cool?
Well, that particular product could be used for numerous things. It's a point source. It's self-powered. It has a nice horn that's in it. So that horn is a 90-degree by 60-degree vertical. So it gives a good pattern. It's going to keep some energy off the walls. It'll keep it nice and focused. It has a built-in amplifier. It has quite a few presets that are in there. So you could use that for a front of house. You could also use that for a floor monitor, and all of those are presets. So you just thumb right through it, and you can get to the program that you need to use. The amplifier is a Class D for the bottom end, gives quite a bit of power for the speaker that's needed, and then it has a Class AB amplifier for the high end, and that we like that because it gave a really good transient response, a nice airish, top end, and I guess that's why we called it that and went down that path. But that's a really good speaker utility to be able to use in a fixed installation and for a lot of portable purposes.
Great. So I guess another thing that I really like about the Heir, besides the weight, and that's another thing because they are plastic speakers, they're extremely light, but very very loud as well. But I love the subwoofer configurations that are available through the DSP on the back. Now you can use the sub just as a regular sub, but when you combine multiple subs, you can put them in either a cardioid or an end-fire kind of configuration. So let's talk about cardioid. Why is that cool?
Cardioid's sort of the new part of what people like to do, especially if you have the room to do that. You can lower the energy behind the speaker cabinet about 15 dB. So normally your low frequency devices are omnidirectional. So that means immediately it starts to wrap around the speaker and it's the same level all the way around.
Right.
So being able to get into cardioid, you're able to focus a lot of that energy out front.
To the audience.
Yep, and stay about 15 dB down. So you end up with this nice pattern. The pattern can be kind of tight, so you have to pay attention to that. And you need to make sure that you're not putting that right up against the wall because you need some space behind that sub to be able for all of those wavelengths and stuff to interact and to work and to null that out and push the energy forward.
So basically in the cardioid mode, you would take one Heir subwoofer, the bottom one, face it out. Then you take the second sub, stack it on the top, but point it back towards the stage, I guess.
Yes.
Right? And then there's a preset on the back of that one that you would change to the cardioid preset. Is that correct?
That is correct. So it can work numerous ways. We are starting to have some of these things in Ease Focus, so you could look and see how that works. But depending on if you put the top speaker in reverse or the move and put the bottom speaker in reverse can steer how the energy would end up steering. You also can put them side by side. So if you had the room and you didn't want the height, you could put them side by side. Then depending on how you set those, it could steer the energy towards the center or steer the energy a little bit more to the side. So you just need to be careful and know exactly what you're wanting to do for that installation.
So that application, I think, is really important. I'll give you a really real-world application. We have one of the guys here at PreSonus that DJs weddings. And a lot of times he'll do a gig in a hotel ballroom where there's like a wedding happening in one ballroom, and then the very next ballroom, there's a teachers convention happening. And he keeps getting complaints because the low end is going, because it's omnidirectional, it's going into the next ballroom. Well, one of the cool things that he told us about was by using 2 air subs per side, putting one of them, stacking it on top, flipping it around, putting it in cardioid mode, all of a sudden, a bunch of that low end now is not going back towards the other hall. It's going straight to the audience.
Makes a big difference.
Yep. So let's talk about N-Fire. So that's the other mode on the back that has a preset. What is N-Fire and how does that work?
So in Fire, basically, you are putting one cabinet in front of another cabinet, and you are delaying that front cabinet back to the back. And we have preset that. So we've preset it to be 5 feet from the front baffle to 5 feet to the rear baffle of that speaker.
Okay.
And that basically is a quarter wavelength to about 56 hertz. So that takes 56 hertz as the center part, and then you would go downward in energy and upward in energy and control that part of it. So you're controlling a certain bandwidth, basically, but the thing that it can do better than a cardioid, you would have less rejection, but you get a little bit wider pattern control. So sometimes that's needed. You could also put that under a stage and do that, and that would make it, to where people, it's not out on the floor,
Yeah,
and it makes it low profile and easy to use.
Okay, that's a really cool thing. Okay, so next let's talk about the ULT family of speakers. So we actually have a ULT 12 right here. What's different about the ULT from the Heir, and kind of who's the customer for this?
This is really more of a professional grade. It's made out of a multi-grain wood. It has a polyurea finish that's on it. The grills are a little thicker and sturdier. The whole pattern that's in this is about a 79% blow through, which is kind of nice. We have a nice amplifier that's in the back, roughly 500 watts per channel. It's a 2-channel amplifier. DSP is all built in, which makes it nice and compact and easy to use.
Right.
A big factor of this is that the horn. So this is a constant directivity horn. We worked really hard on this. It has 110 degree in the horizontal pattern and 50 in the vertical. So this is going to give you a much wider pattern that you may need, and a lot of people would need that over a 90-degree pattern. So, and it is rotatable. So you could mount the speaker up in the air, turn it on its side, and rotate the horn.
Right.
Which makes it, have some different things that you can do with it and use.
Yeah, and so, I personally have used the ULT for years with my band, and one of the things that I've always found about it is that it is by far, when you're doing those kind of gigs where, especially in wide rooms, but even in narrow rooms, these things are really meant to throw, and they just throw forever. And so you can really cover a room, whether it be a super wide room or a super deep room, and everybody can hear, and the intelligibility is amazing. And this horn is crazy.
Yeah, it works really well. Also, the DSP that's built into it really allows us to do good phase alignment of the drivers. And here we design our own speakers. We have manufacturers that build them for us. But we do set all of the parameters. So there are a lot of key factors to make this really transparent. Those reverb trails and things that you play on songs, you can really hear it. Makes it very coherent.
That's right. Okay, so next let's talk about the CDL family. So the CDL has now been out for about a year. It has been extremely well received for us. We've won numerous awards. Front of House magazine gave us an award last year for best kind of mid-priced speaker product of the year. So we're really happy about that. CDL is kind of a different design. What makes the CDL kind of unique and special?
Well, I think when you're looking at the ULT that we just talked about, you're looking at a point source that you really can only use one box aside. With the CDL, we wanted a point source, but we wanted to merge, a point source and a line array together. So we made this curved array that is scalable. And I think that is the big thing, that now you have a cabinet that has a pretty narrow vertical, so it keeps that energy nice and tight. It's 20 degrees. It has 120 degrees in the horizontal, so it's even a little wider than some of the other products that are out there. But I think the key factor is that it's scalable. So now you can start with one, you could put multiples together. When you put two, you have 40 degrees, three, you have 60, on up to flying around 6 boxes if you needed to do it. So if you're in a facility, you could hit a balcony and hit all the way to the front. If you're a musician, you could put one on the speaker. You could end up, utilizing one of them if you wanted, and just you, keyboard, guitar player, have one speaker, add a couple as you get a band. If you end up moving into a building or something, you could add more boxes and makes it scalable.
Yeah, now, so I'll also tell my own personal story here because after using the ULTs for a couple of years, my band switched to the CDLs just because it's our latest greatest speaker, and we wanted to give it a shot. And I tell you, the thing that we found is the scalability of what you're talking about is right on. I mean, we'll do like an acoustic gig someplace where we'll just bring one or two speakers. Because of the pattern of 120 degrees, we can cover a lot. But the other thing that's kind of unique about the CDL is that that 12-inch speaker just has an amazing amount of low end for a 12. So even by itself, without a subwoofer for a small gig, they work. But then we'll do a bigger gig where we're trying to cover 200-300 people. We throw a 18-inch subwoofer below it. And then if we're doing even a bigger gig where we're trying to cover 800 to 1,000 people, we've done gigs where we use two CDL 12s per side with two 18-inch subwoofers below. And so all of that is capable with that one family. So, the thing that you mentioned about the point source boxes, I've seen this happen where guys will use two point source boxes per side. And the problem that you're talking about has to do with the horns kind of, clashing, right?
Yeah, they're made not to overlap very well. We tried to make them wider. Even a 90-degree horn is too much to put another one right beside of it. Most people that are going to make an arrayable, to have an arrayable in the horizontal are going to make that to where it's a 60 degree box.
Right.
Now you have to put multiples together, and you're trying to enlarge your beam pattern in the horizontal. And so we chose to have a fixed end, pretty wide pattern in a scalable, vertical pattern. I think too, another part that a lot of people talk about is, we use 2-inch drivers, and it has a really nice 2-inch driver. There are 8 of them that go down the front. The way that we cross it over at 420 hertz, where a lot of point sources may be higher. And so it leaves that whole vocal range to where you've got one group of speakers. And so that's very phase coherent. It's very clear. It puts out a really smooth pattern and control. And so, what that does is gives you far better gain before feedback. And I think a lot of people really like that.
Cool.
So less feedback.
So the last family of speakers that PreSonus offers is our top of the line, and that's our Works series, which you're the Works guy. So tell us a little bit about the Works. Kind of, there's a lot of models available, but sort of just in general, who's the customer and what makes the Works, speakers unique from some of the other ones that are in the same price?
Well, we worked hard, with Works Audio to dive in and do line array. And we felt like line array for a lot of the facilities that were out there, that's a good product to use. You have to use multiple speakers, but the way that these are designed, they're all horn loaded. So our horns are roughly 20 inches in width, and the mid bass and high frequency is all in the same horn. So it's almost like a big coax. So all of that energy comes out, evenly through it.
Symmetrical.
And, symmetrical. And so we made a symmetrical pattern in the horizontal. We have a group of boxes that are 120 degrees. And we also have the widest line array in the world. It's 160 degrees in the horizontal. So it allows you to use less speakers and cover a room, cover stadiums. That same design would work in stadiums and work through a lot of facilities that are that way. And I think that whole design concept, being horn loaded, is key.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, very cool. And the other thing that is common with all of the Works boxes is the the DSP that's on the back, works control and also the connectivity. So we have options for both analog and Dante.
Yes. So they have Dante, so you can run a digital signal if you need. All of the DSP is built in. There are several presets that are there. If you log into the amplifier by our works control, you have other presets. You're also, as a user, able to group speakers together, EQ that group of speaker, delay that group of speaker. There's a lot of features that are built into works control. We'll kind of get into that in a separate video, but so all of those speakers use our PDA 1000 and our PDA 2000, and those modules work really, really well. It's a universal power supply, so if you accidentally plugged it into 220, you're not going to hurt anything. It'll work from about 95 volts all the way up to 270 volts, which is pretty amazing. So we could utilize that amplifier worldwide and not have any issues with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. Well, thank you guys for watching. And if you have any other questions about any of the different PreSonus family of speakers, obviously check out our website at PreSonus.com. But feel free to email us if you would like to set up a speaker demo wherever you are at sales@PreSonus.com. We'd love for you to hear these. Thank you.